All right, we are live. Welcome to another episode of Talking Commanders with Manny on the Talking Sports with Manny podcast. I have my fresh Commanders hat. I'm kind of pissed right now that I bought this hat, and I'm kind of pissed that I bought a shirt as well. Got my good guy, Mike Dobbs, with me, man. How you feeling, brother?
I'm also in the same as you. I'm a little bit pissed off, but it was inevitable, especially how they were performing. So my tempers have went down a little bit.
Yeah, mine. My thing was, I saw what was coming. So, for those that are listening and don't know what's going on, the Commanders have traded Chase Young to the San Francisco 49ers for a third round pick. Just not a third, it's a comp third pick, which means it's closer to a fourth round pick. And then on top of that, the Commanders also traded Montez Sweat to the Chicago Bears for a second round pick, which most likely, if the season ended today, that's pick 35. That's much better compensation. Lots of fans were thinking, oh, maybe Chase Young, we get a first. You weren't getting the first because he hasn't done enough work to produce a first. So give me your initial thoughts on the Montez Sweat trade, and then we'll go ahead and go into the Chase Young trade.
Sure. Right away, if I had to choose between Chase or Tez who to trade, I would have picked Tez. I enjoyed Tez's time with Washington. He was great for us. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, when you look at age and factor of everything, I'm going to keep Chase Young in the upside with Young. So what we netted for Montez was fantastic. That essentially is a late first round pick.
Yep.
And then when that happened, you were essentially thinking if Chase Young was going to get traded, you would also net at least a second rounder. But with Montez, I think for us, it was a minus trade. For the Bears, it was a little bit more head scratching. I get that Tez is being set up to be a free agent in the offseason, but at the same time, this can be a situation where the Bears sign him long term before the season ends. So that could be a building block for the Bears' defensive line for the future. So it could be in the B tier for the Bears.
Yeah, I think the Bears won this deal. It was a smash hit for them. For us, like we knew having this defensive line for four first rounders, and I'm gonna get on my rant about these four first rounders that it's been pissing me off. I've been hearing about it, but these four guys haven't really dominated, and it was just outside of Chase Young's rookie season, they've done nothing. So I was sick and tired. I was actually pissed. These four first rounders on the defensive line. If you look at it, it's almost semi-poor roster construction. And I'm going to talk about this in a second. It wasn't our fault because you take best available, and that's what we did every year once we got these guys. I'm not mad at that. But when you pay Allen, who we were thinking, oh, is Allen worth it? He has a career-high season, right? He gets paid. Then Payne might be the one to get traded. We don't know. We're not going to keep all four. Then Payne has an amazing season, better season than Allen. He gets paid. Montez Sweat was on his way to 12 sacks this season. Chase Young was on his way to a 10-sack season. So, of course, people ball out when you need them to in a contract year because we know that the NFL is short-lived. So, but my dilemma, what was pissing me off about this team was I was sick and tired of hearing these four, man, we got the best defensive line in the league. Best defensive line in the league. What do you mean best defensive? When you need a stop, when you need pressure and you need to get to the QB in opportune moments, these guys were not able to do it. There are times when you need this defense to step up in order to win the game, and they don't. It's not all on them. I think that Jack Del Rio and his scheme sucks. What do you think about Jack Del Rio and his scheme? Do you think that Jack Del Rio put these guys in position to win during their tenure here in Washington?
No, he sets them up for failure every single season. I think it's the same swan song. You start off slow, and then this defense turns around and shows everyone what they could be potentially. But it's repetition. It's the same thing every single season with Jack Del Rio's defense. Everyone say, "Oh, he just needs to make his adjustments. It just needs to take time." No, if you have these type of studs on your defensive line and in the secondary, you should be able to do this consistently every single game. It should take weeks or months to take. It should be right away when everyone's saying before the start of the season, Washington's strengths, is the defense. But
Yep.
right now, the script is 100% flipped, and that's not
It's
great
flipped.
because
It's flipped.
right now this whole season is in the trash can. It's in the gutter, and that I think does go a long way with Jack Del Rio. The players, yes, do get some blame, but to me, majority of it is the coaching staff.
Yep. I totally agree, and it's kind of upsetting that Jack Del Rio lasted this long. When you constantly, each and every year, you start slow, you give up 1 million points per game, then essentially that means you're losing games, which means you have a losing record. And then at the end, like towards the middle, we got to run the table. I am tired of running the table, going for 7 wins out of 9 or 8 wins out of 10. It is not a good thing. Then you get to the playoffs, you're going to get blasted because you did all this to get into the playoffs. And it's all because of the slow starts of the defense. This year, the offense is playing unbelievable. Yes, we're playing comeback. It's because of the defense. And then we're going to talk about EB in a minute. There's just so much on my mind. There's just so much to talk about. And I'm just so pissed off at this team. I really don't care who got traded today, to be honest. I'm a big Chase Young fan. But at the end of the day, if you tell me you trade Chase Young and you get better next year, let's say you trade Chase Young and that pick turns into an amazing asset, let's say the best middle linebacker to ever play the game, I don't know. I'll tell you, I'm all in. If you tell me trading Montez Sweat and trading Chase Young added picks to go ahead and do some things in the draft to kind of solidify this team, I'm all in. I'm sick and tired of losing that. Even now, like the next guy that I love the most on this team is Terry. If you tell me trade Terry to have success, buy Terry. I love you, but bye. Like I'm just to that point to where I have no emotional attachments to any player on this team. I'm so close to being done with this team. I'm done with this team every other Sunday. And it's so frustrating, but it's like the product that the team, the organization is giving us to be buying hats and shirts. And I vowed, I said, look, I'm not buying any Washington football gear. Never bought one. So I'm not buying any Commanders gear, but I'm like, man, it looks like this name is going to stick. It's not going anywhere. I still have my burgundy and gold. So I bought a couple stuff. And that's probably going to be all until they improve. Like, I'm not buying any tickets. I'm not buying no plane ticket. I'm not getting no hotel. I'm not flying down to DC. I'm not going to FedEx Field because the product that we get is just disgusting. About 3 or 4 years ago, when Alex Smith was still here, I flew down for my first game in FedEx Field, even though I grew up in the DMV area, Hyattsville, Maryland, Landover Hills. So I go to the game, and we get blown out by ATL. So you're telling me I did all this to get there, and we get blasted. So it's like the product isn't good. But talk to me about the squad, what you think, like where do you think this team is going? And do you think that there's a potential that EB becomes the head coach?
So this is what I'd say. Me, hundreds of other fans on Twitter, the thousands, are already calling for Ron Rivera, Jack Del Rio to get canned, especially after today.
Yep.
If you are going to sell your 2 best defenders, you might as well. You're giving up on the season. So
Yep.
To me, essentially, I think you should fire Ron, fire Jack, promote the coaches to see what they're capable of. So I think EB should get that interim chance to show what he can be as the head coach. And that's the thing with Ron Rivera is like everyone says, what does he do? He doesn't call plays on offense. He doesn't call plays on defense. He for sure hell doesn't call challenges when Sunday, clearly that 4th down catch wasn't a catch. He just sat there with his arms crossed. Next play,
I was going to say that.
Moss St. Juice. So it's like, it's the most annoying, infuriating thing every Sunday when the camera pans back to Ron Rivera. There's no emotion. And I'm just like, so what is his job with this team? He clearly can't motivate the players. He clearly can't coach the players. He clearly can't coach the on-field product with the game management, time management, coaching challenges. So it's mind-boggling what he does. The only slimmer of hope that I have is Josh Harris. He's a different owner than Dan Snyder. So he proves to you with the other professional team that he owns with the Philadelphia 76ers is that he's willing to rebuild, but he also doesn't want to take years to rebuild. He wants a fast rebuilding process, and he wants to have good product on the field. I think today with trading both Chase Young and Montez Sweat showed that. But at the same time, if we were getting rid of both of those players, I kind of wanted to see us go full on fire sale if that's the case.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, we should have traded Antonio Gibson. We should have try to get something from Jonathan Allen. Don't get me wrong. I love Jonathan Allen.
He got to go. He got to go. He got to go.
At the same time, I think he wanted to leave with all those post-game interviews. It seemed like his body language was checked out.
Yep.
And I think we should have seen what we could have got on Kendall Fuller. Like, that's the thing. It's like all these older players that are going into their 30-year age, like Terry's getting old, as you said. If you can trade him for success, it's going to hurt, but you will do it.
Yeah.
So that's the thing with, like, it's mind-boggling to me where it's like we only stopped at 2. You should have also gouged other teams' interest in Brissett. There's a lot of teams that are QB hungry, and hats off to you for calling Josh Dobbs to the Vikings before the trade happened the day before. Like, I was hoping that the Vikings would have been desperate enough to get Brissett, but alas, it didn't happen. So it's just, to me, I would love to see Ryan Kerrigan get promoted up the ranks to the defensive coordinator position. Like, he's the linebacker coach. He's going to know what he can do on the defensive scheme. He played in that role on the same team. And especially EB, I would love to see what he can do. I was all for that hiring. Yes, he's had some up and downs, but he's proved to you that he can adjust, just like Sam Howell. He's had the ability to adjust in games. He's had the ability. Yes, we've had atrocious game against the Giants, bad against the Bills, bad against the Bears. But the games, like, yes, we lost both against the Eagles. Our offense was clicking. It was the defense that lost us the games. Like Atlanta, he called a good games, and that was a good mixture of both offense and defense, and that was giving us a bright spot for the future. But unfortunately, it wasn't sustainable. So I would like to see what we have in these coaches that aren't Ron Rivera or Jack Del Rio.
Right. So, and the thing is, if you trade these two guys, right, the next subsequent move that I was waiting for is Ron Rivera has been fired. Jack Del Rio. That's what I've been waiting for. Like, it's still not too late. At some point, here's my plan. If I am running the show, goodbye, Ron. Goodbye, Jack Del Rio. You both, thank you guys for your services. You guys suck, okay? Now, EB, you got 9 games. Get me 6 wins. If you get me 6 wins, this job is yours long term. If you don't get me 6 wins, we're going to bring in the other guys, and we're going to see what the best candidate is. Because I know it's a lot of pressure saying, hey, go out there, get 6 wins, but I got to see some progress. Because if you can't adjust, like you said, we talked about adjustment, and it seemed like EB, it took him till now to know you got to get the ball out of Sam's hands quicker. So you saw the quick pass game. You saw that he schemed the offensive line to be They looked good. I can say they looked good. I don't know what the change was. Maybe it was Larson starting the center. Maybe it was getting Chris Paul in there. Whatever the changes were, they schemed up a good game. And this is a great defensive line for the Eagles. Forget they get burnt, in the secondary, but this is a good defensive line. And we struggle versus good defensive lines. The Giants, look at all the games that we lost, all the games that we actually played bad. It was the defensive lines of the opposing teams. Buffalo came in with like 2 sacks. They play us, they get 9 or whatever it was. Every team comes down. Every single team. So for the for the one time you protect Sam, all the defense had to do was get to the QB. All the defense had to do was triple, double, quadruple team A.J. Brown. The guy is killing you. The guy was getting at least 70% of the targets at a certain proportion in the game. And you're telling me you know where the ball is going and you're not going to double team? Like, what is going on? It's
the thing that I would say, too, is that, like, I truly want Emmanuel Forbes to be successful. I want any player on Washington to be successful.
Same.
I don't want to root against anyone. That's the issue.
Same.
But the thing is, the reason why I know that Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio aren't good coaches is because they put the situation of Emmanuel Forbes back on A.J. Brown. And it resulted in a touchdown. Why are you going to – you saw what the first game against the Eagles did to Emmanuel Forbes. Whew. You benched him. You chastised him. It was not a great game for the young rookie. So what do? You put him back out there to guard A.J. Brown, and it results in a touchdown. Yes, there was not great safety help by Quan Martin, mind you, our second-round pick. Like, it's not great situations that these coaches put their players in.
Mm-hmm.
It just sets them up for failure, and that's not what you want from your main guys. And that's why it ultimately I think this New England game, unfortunately, it is a winnable game.
Yep.
But if we lose to New England and that Mac Jones offense, I think there is no chance in hell that Ron Rivera should stay on as coach.
Yep. And we most likely will lose that game, and then it becomes stupid to why we didn't trade guys like Antonio Gibson, why we didn't trade guys like Fuller. I do think the defense is going to play better, because what's going to happen is guys like Casey Toohill are going to say, man, I get a chance to really show what I can do. You know, I'm the leader now on this defensive end group. I'm the leader. Like, hey, I got 3 sacks on the season. I make plays when I actually get snaps. And he's going to have that hunger to him, to where he says, hey, man, I want to get a sizable contract on my next contract. I want to stick around on this team no matter what they decide to do. KJ Henry, maybe that was a wasted pick. I don't know. You know, Andre Jones, we don't know. So it's going to be a lot of guys that are going to be hungry. Efo Bada and the rest of these guys, they're going to get an opportunity to show what they can do. But it's like you look at it and you say, how can you lose 2 guys the caliber of Chase and Montez and get better? Like, and the thing is, you don't even run stunts with these guys. That's the crazy thing. Like, you don't even do anything to play to the strengths of these defensive ends and defensive linemen. Also, we mentioned Forbes. You putting this guy in a bad position. You're not even using him to his strengths. That's the thing about the Commanders. Like, and the thing is, you get all these picks, right? This front office better not be there, because you have shown me that you are bad talent evaluators. You're not getting guys that fit your scheme, your so-called scheme. You don't even have a scheme. You just get out there and just do whatever. You're playing pickup football. If you're going to have all these picks, you got to have people that know what to do with these picks. I play a lot of dynasty football, and I always compare dynasty football fantasy to real life, because you have to, for example, when I blow up my team in dynasty and I say, hey, I don't want these players anymore, some of these vets, I sell off everything. I acquire first-round picks, second-round picks, third-round picks. And then when a draft comes, I'm targeting guys like Tank Dell. I'm targeting guys like Puka. I'm targeting guys that I have evaluated. And I'm saying I'm the best talent evaluator, but these scouts, these GMs, what are you doing? Are you guys going out there? Are you guys studying? Are you guys going to the small schools? Are you guys looking for guys that fit your so-called scheme? Or are you just grabbing whatever you can grab and just trying to see if it's going to work? Because Christian Gonzalez fits the so-called scheme that the Commanders run now than Emmanuel Forbes. But now you've drafted this guy. He doesn't fit what you're trying to do. You're not trying to, you know what I'm saying, tweak and play to the strengths. And it's so freaking annoying. Jamin Davis, he's great at getting after the QB. That's the best thing that he's done well since he's been here. But you don't put him in those positions to blitz. Like,
it's because Jack doesn't blitz. He refuses to blitz. He refuses to put pressure on the quarterback when there needs to be. Like, that's the thing as well with this coaching staff, is that they just don't adjust. And it's the most infuriating thing. It's like Chase this year was having a career season per se. He's having a career pass rushing grade. He's having a career win rate. And he's one of the leaders in pressures against the quarterback. But the issue is they're not dialing up plays for him. They're not taking the double teams, making sure that the other players can win. It's just, and that's another thing about this Chase trade, is that there's some rumblings going on that this was an addition by subtraction, which I don't get. I mean,
I don't get it either.
This is one of your better players, and you're saying you just gave up on him for technically a 4th-round pick because you think you're gaining by this loss of a player? That just makes no sense to me. And like that whole thing with evaluating players in the draft, the whole front office, they've showed you that they don't know how to pick. It's the track record. All these guys, Josh Allen, Terry McLaurin, that was Gruden's staff. That was Gruden's draft class. That was not Ron Rivera. So the good players that we had that build on our success are not from this regime's class
at all.
And that's why, like, the whole thing with Emmanuel Forbes, as I said, I want him to be successful. But what really annoyed me, I wanted Christian Gonzalez because obviously he was the best cornerback available.
Yep.
And the fact that New England put in the pick
Yep.
like that right after we picked Forbes, they didn't even wait to put in the pick. And you know that Belichick's a good evaluator of talent.
They laughing at us,
that
man.
was the quickest card run that I've seen from a
Yep.
draft pick. And I was just like, this is going to bite us in the butt, that we did not take the player with the better grade, with the better combine skill set, just the defensive scheme skill set. It just, and it
now
shows after week 8 that it's not looking good for us.
Now, I'm like you in terms of whoever the Commanders bring in, I support everybody. I support everybody until until I've had enough. Like, I'm giving Forbes like exactly. Like, hey, I'm a rock with you. I'm gonna stick beside you. But man, after a while, I get pissed off and I go off on you. Like, I went off on Forbes a little bit, and rightfully so. He deserved it because he was trash. Okay, he was trash in the small sample size that we've seen him. Whether it's scheme, whether it's him, whether it's confidence, whatever it is, he has not looked good. On top of that, I've lost my train of thought, but I'm going somewhere with this. This organization, right? You draft these different guys, you don't groom them, then you blame them, then you put them back in positions to not win. Gonzalez, I wanted Gonzalez. But the reason, yes, I remember what I was going to say now. The reason why I wasn't mad at the Forbes pick was because I wanted Olave. We got Jahan Dotson. I'm perfectly fine with Jahan Dotson. And even then, they're not even putting Jahan Dotson in positions to win until just recently. Like, so it's like, I don't know what to think of this team. So that's why I didn't get mad at the Forbes pick. But now I'm pretty pissed because it's not working out. And until you get rid of these coaches and bring in some guys that can actually coach, then there might be a chance for a lot of these players. Now, when you bring in the right guy, because it's going to be like, I'm telling you, they're going to clean house. And if EB doesn't do well the rest of the way, he's gone as well.
Mm-hmm.
But they're going to bring a lot of guys. The reason why I would want EB to be the only one who stays is because I believe that Sam Howell is the franchise quarterback for this team. He can be let me just say he can be. I'm not going to just anoint the guy. He can be the franchise quarterback for this
100%.
team. But it starts with an offensive line. You 100%. You have to get this guy a real left tackle. Charles Leno, you're a good human. I like you as a person, but as a player, you suck, man. And I'm sorry if the Leno family is watching.
He did have a great game this past week. I will say against the Eagles, he did have a great game, and especially under the circumstances he's had, enduring with his wife and unfortunately the miscarriage. A lot's been going on with him. The fact that he turned out that level of performance was very impressive to me. But yes, I would like to go younger. I would like to try to get a really good stud left tackle. We got to get rid of most of the O-line. I mean, that did show you that when we did replace Nick Gates, when we did put in Chris Paul, Larson, it just showed you how much better our offensive line works. And the same thing with Lucas. Like, it just shows you when we plug in our backup guards, backup tackles, they perform better than our starters.
Exactly.
Like, what does that show you as the coaching staff?
Coaching is trash.
When us fans are realizing that our backup players are performing better than our starters, why haven't you made these changes weeks ago that makes your team better, that would help Sam Howell? That's just the issue, is that majority of these sacks weren't on Sam Howell. A lot of them were, but majority, I'd say like 60-70% were on the offensive line. Like against the Giants, after every time Sam was on the ground, you just look at a picture of 4 offensive tackles just standing around Sam, like with their hands on their hips. Oh, sorry, I couldn't get him. Like it makes no sense.
Right.
And this is all Ron Rivera's offensive line. These are all his guys that he's handpicked.
Right.
So that's the issue, is that once again, it's the evaluating of these players that they don't properly do. And that's not going to set you up for success. And ultimately, it's going to make you sellers like today.
Right. So I have a few guys that want to join. I know Josh wants to join. Timeout Sports, you're more than welcome to join as well. I'm going to send you guys a link in just a minute. I know my guy Mike got to go soon. But it's just so much that I have in mind with this team, and it's just so annoying. It's pissing me off. I'm losing train of thought, but with this team, right? Let's say Ron Rivera is fired. Let's say Jack Del Rio is fired. It's like, the thing is like, When do you fire these guys? Because I'm telling you, these guys are still trying to push for the playoffs. And as they should. As they should. I mean, you have these players, you play to win the game. You play to win the game, right? Like Herm always says. But it's like, at what point do you think? I think these guys should be gone now. Like, I think letting go of Chase Young, but then it's like they let go of Chase Young and Montez Sweat to make a point, right? Now they have to prove that the team is so-called better with these two guys gone, which doesn't make any sense. Had they fired these guys, you bring in another person to, I don't know. It's like they're stuck at this point. They're stuck at this point.
But this is the thing that I'll say is that, like, I think you have to get rid of Ron and Jack, because what if we do make that Ron Rivera run that he does every single year? It's going to put Josh Harris's mind that, okay, wait, maybe this could work. Yep. I don't want that to cross his mind whatsoever, because that's happened with Dan Snyder every single time that Ron's done that second half run. Right. And that's just the thing to me, is that you know that this product isn't working. This is year 4. This is not going to be successful. So you need to start from scratch. You need to get a good, young, offensive-minded coach, whether that is EB or whether that is Ben Johnson from the Detroit Lions, someone that's going to set you up for success. You look at all these coaches that went into these situations with other teams like Mike McDaniel, Dan Campbell, that these teams weren't great, and they turned them around. So I think that you do need to start from scratch and go with a younger coach. Ron Rivera, great guy. I appreciate what he did for the culture. I appreciate how he turned everything around off the field. But in the end of the day, this is an on-field product that you need to produce. And unfortunately, Ron has not done that in his tenure here.
I totally agree. I'm going back and forth. I don't know if it boots me off the screen.
Okay.
But it's a terrible situation to where we're just stuck, and it's not much you can do. When you're stuck, and it just is what it is. So now you just got to play out the season. And the funny thing was, we had a beautiful schedule. I loved this schedule so much, and I figured that after 7 games, we would have been 5-2 if we were an improved team, if we fixed some of the mess that we've been having thus far, right? I'm thinking, oh, man, we're going to be finally a good team. We have the schedule. We have this. We have that. So outside of Ron and Jack Del Rio, what players, give me one offensively and one defensively, that have been the most disappointing so far this season?
Offensively, it's tough to just pick one, and I love this guy, but I'm going to have to go with Jahan Dotson. I get he did have a great game against Philadelphia, but there were a lot of games this season where we needed a big catch, and when the ball was thrown to him, he didn't catch the ball. He dropped flat there. It was not great for Jahan, especially he's in a really big sophomore slump. We thought he was going to take another step. Right. So that hurts me to say, but I will say another offense, and this is not because of the player, it's more because of the coaching, is B-Rob. We should not be rushing the ball for that little yards every single game.
Yep.
We have one of the worst rushing attacks in the league, and it's crazy. And that, I think, is a product to the coaching staff more so of the player. Defense, I'm going to have to go with John Allen.
Okay.
The amount of money that we're paying him and the little production we're getting from him, I expected him to be in the 6-7 sack range right now. I expected him to be leading the team. But unfortunately, he's not. And it's hurting me because he's our leader on defense. He's the most vocal. He's the guy that you stand behind. But unfortunately, he's been very disappointed in terms of what his contract is.
Right. So I have my guy Smitty in the building. Smitty's coming on. Anybody who wants to come on, just let me know. I'll get you guys on. C-Ruff, if you want to come on, shoot me a message on Twitter. I can't find your handle. I'm sorry. Chef Dre, if you want to come on, just shoot me a DM on Twitter, and I'll bring you guys on. I know a lot of fans got a lot to say. So, Josh, man, just pour your heart out, man.
What's up, brother? So what's confusing, the Sweat trade, I was like, okay, got a second-round pick, cool. And it's going to probably be a high second-round pick because Chicago sucks. But at the end of the day, okay, free up some money, we're gonna sign Young or we're gonna sign Chase, we'll be good. But for us to go trade him for next to nothing, and especially to San Fran, who we play,
Right.
is just, in my opinion, is asinine.
Right.
Like it doesn't make sense. And if we're going to full rebuild, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, with the Harris group coming in, okay, we thought they're going to give Ron a chance this year,
Right.
see how it's going to go. But at the end of the day, when it starts going downhill, you just continue to ride the train. You're really telling us fans that what the hell are we in for? Like what the hell? Like, I mean, I get it. You can't just. I mean, you can let a coach go mid-season, but Del Rio hasn't been producing for us in what? Since he's. I mean, he had that one good year in 19 and 20. I mean, I don't see how. I don't see how we can go from here and be like, okay, we're good. When, I mean, our O line is god awful, and that's coming from somebody who has watched about almost all of our games and in bits and pieces because I don't get the live broadcast every game.
Yep.
So, and the defense, on the other hand, our D line has disappointed
Mm-hmm.
for much of the season.
Right.
Our defensive backs have been less than elite, less than star quality, really, if we're being honest.
So I got a question. So what is your dream scenario? I'm gonna ask both of you guys. And Mike, whenever you gotta go, just
Yeah, I'll
help
stay
out.
for this question.
All right. So what's your dream scenario for the rest of the season? Because at this point, it is what it is, and we just gotta rock it out. It's like, are you with the hey, let's lose out, get into the best pick possible, or are you like, hey, let's develop these guys? If they win, they win, or hey, let's go ahead and push and still try to make the playoffs? What is your take, Mike? And then I'm gonna go ahead and ask Josh.
Yeah, so my take, I'd say that I think Ron and JDR should go, as I've mentioned earlier. I think that you give EB the chance to prove himself. I don't necessarily say let's try to get the best pick possible, top 10 pick. That means losing out. I think that you want to see who you can build on for the next future, the next season. You want to see what players you can cut to save some more cap money. We're going to have a lot of picks in the top 50. We're going to have a good amount of money in the cap space that we can go and sign draft capital and players that I think that could be very beneficial to us. So I think that these past few games, when you get rid of the coaches that are holding you back, it's going to help evaluate the players that you can build on. And I think that this can also show, is EB going to be the guy of the future? And I think that was the reason why we signed him in the beginning of the season, was to take the helm after Ron Rivera was going to retire. And I think Rivera, regardless of the season or not, I thought he was going to be retired after this year, even if it was going to be successful or not, just because with everything he's dealt off the field, I think that he was getting to the point where he was going to be hanging up his cleats. So I think that I just want to see what EB is going to give us, as well as the players and how they're going to respond to today, because that's going to be a huge thing. You saw Cam Curl tweeting his feelings. You saw Jeremy Reeve tweeting his feelings. You want to see how these players are going to respond to the trades today, because I know these players are going to want to be as successful as they can. They're not going to give up. I hope they're not going to give up, because if they do, that's going to be terrible for us fans, and that's not going to be great for us in the future, because we're on the worst emotional roller coaster of any fans. I think it's always that up and down, up and down. It's that circle that you repeat every single season with the optimism to the realist, and it's just a repeated circle, and it's the worst. But that's what I am hoping for. And if I had the decision to make, that would be my decision.
Good stuff, man. Mike, once again, man, appreciate you for coming on the show. Appreciate all your thoughts. And once I drop the episode out, I'm going to tag you on Twitter. Appreciate you, brother.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Good to meet you, Mike.
Have a good one, guys. Good to meet you too, Josh.
All right. So, Josh, man, same question. What is your take? Like, what's your dream scenario for the rest of the season?
Kind of echoing Mike a little bit, except I don't want us to lose out. I don't think that's productive at all. But looking at our schedule, honestly, I said in a couple of our chats, I think we'll be lucky if we win at least 2 games. But I'll be honest, I think if we can develop our players that need developed, we need to evaluate, like Mike said, the players that we still do have. And if we're not, if we can't see what EB is as a head coach, then, and if he can't at least give us some production,
right,
then he's going to be gone too.
Right.
And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I mean, you can't have you can't keep doing this roller coaster of up and down, up and down, up and down. Right. That's no way to. I mean, it's the National Frickin' Football League. I mean, you're supposed to be competing at a high level every single year.
Yep.
I get some teams aren't going to do that every year because some teams are worse than others. Some teams are run poorer than others, whatnot. Right. But at the same time, you should be competing every single year.
Right.
We're in the NFC East, for crying out loud.
Right.
We have 4 teams, or we have 3 teams ahead of us right now. The Giants are in limbo. The Eagles and Dallas are the top 2 teams. Eagles obviously being 1, Dallas being 2. But Dallas is a freaking paper cut away from falling apart.
Yep.
I mean, so it's open other than the Eagles, and we've shown that we can literally play the Eagles tough.
Yeah, definitely can play with the Eagles
twice.
For sure.
So what are we doing? Why can't we win? The answer has to be we have to get the right guys in here. And if the Harris group can evaluate and they can say, listen, hell, we have Magic Johnson. I mean, proven winner. He knows what to do. If we can't bring the players or the coaches in that can get it done, then us fans are going to be in misery. And I mean,
but
you're going to have people jumping ship left and right.
So let me go ahead and say this. So with the new ownership group, they don't have to keep anybody. They don't have to keep any players. So it's going to be a culture that this Harris group and Magic Johnson and the rest of these guys are creating. It's going to be, it's the right coach here.
Yeah.
And if you do bring in a new head coach, most new head coach taking over a team, they usually want to draft their QB. And that's what I'm worried about. Because I'm sold on Sam. I know Tom Sports mentioned earlier that he's not sold on Sam. You have fans that like Sam. You have fans that don't like Sam. I like the idea of developing a young QB. That's just the best way to go. And even if it's not Sam, you got to go another young QB. Because if you stick with let's bring in this vet, let's bring in that vet, that has not worked for us.
No, it has not.
And because RG3 got hurt and then Kirk Cousins, you didn't pay him, you cannot look at the past mistakes or mishaps and say, oh, we can't do this. I love the idea of developing a young QB, and Sam Howell is dirt cheap right now. When you have the rookie contract with these QBs, it allows you, we're going to have $90 million in cap next year to do whatever we want to do with it.
Exactly.
And the reason why I didn't like the construction of the team having spent high draft capital or number two, money on this defensive line. You paid Allen, you paid Payne. That's a lot of money. And then to go ahead and pay a Montez Sweat is just ridiculous. Or to even to pay a Young, to have three guys on the defensive line getting paid the bulk of your money, that's not good roster construction. And if you are paying these guys should be dominating. These guys should be getting after the quarterback. They should be wreaking havoc. They haven't done that.
That's true.
Outside of Chase Young's first year, this defensive line hasn't really even been together. So we never could even see what the potential could be. And then when we could see that or got little flashes here and there, the scheme was off. The coaching was off. So we would never know how great this defensive line could have been. This team went cheap everywhere else. You did not invest in corner until this past season. You can't do that. Then you grab the wrong corner that doesn't fit your scheme. First of all, you want to run the zone. Your zone sucks. Folks are beating you over the top. You don't go grab premier safeties. You're rocking with Forrest and you're rocking with Reeves and all these different guys. They're good, but they're not great. You need a great player at each level. You go grab a Jamin Davis who does not fit your scheme. Once again, it's not that Jamin Davis is a bad player. You're not grabbing guys that fit. You're just grabbing whatever and trying to see if things work. You have not invested in the linebacking group. So
our linebacking core has been poor for a while.
And, fans are mad that you're letting go of Young and Sweat. It just doesn't, it just wasn't going to work. It wasn't going to work. Spread that money out. I'd rather have a stud linebacker. Spend on that. I'd rather have a stud free safety. Whether you're spending a high draft pick, which we have plenty now, or you're paying money. You got to build a team correctly. Fuller, I love him, but it's time to go.
Yeah.
Benjamin St-Juste, I like you, but you're regular. We need special players.
St-Juste, I thought after last year was going to take a step.
Yep.
I thought he was going to take a step, and he's been mediocre to below average this season. And why have we been? I mean, I get Curl is can do a little bit of both, but he can play the nickel and he can play safety. But why isn't he? We've seen how he can be at safety. We've seen how he can disrupt and wreak havoc. Why are we rolling with Reeves and Forrest when Curl is clearly the better option? That's on coaching. That's on Ron and Del Rio. And like I said, JDR hasn't been good since 2019, 2020. And for us to have stuck with him as long as we have is, like I said before, asinine. You cannot do that, and you cannot roll with a defensive coach that is clearly not adapting to his players, clearly not adapting the scheme, and just you can't do that. And I mean, I really honestly started seeing the downfall come. I mean, the first year of Ron was okay. He's changing culture. He's doing good, and then the scandal and everything comes out, and that kind of just crushes the culture, or crushes the team. I shouldn't say culture, because I think Ron did a good job of kind of trying to handle that.
Because the culture is pretty dang good, right?
I mean, I don't know. You can't expect to win if you're half-assing schemes each week, especially in the NFL.
Right.
You're playing up against Jalen Hurts. You're playing up against I don't want to say Kirk Cousins because he hasn't, but you know what I mean? It's like you can't continue to be mediocre and in the National Football League when you're playing these NFC and AFC teams each year,
Hey,
and they're
Josh,
getting better.
check this out. I got 3 questions, and we'll go ahead and end this because I got to eat some chicken and mumbo sauce. Just
I
ordered
got you,
some
buddy. I
since I
got you.
can't since I can't get any mumbo sauce here in Nashville. Finally ordered some from Amazon, so I'm excited for that. So I
I
got the
hear
chicken
that.
in the air fryer, got the mumbo sauce ready. But
Hey, okay,
I got
okay.
a few questions for you, man.
I got you, bro.
So now that our sack leader and our second guy, number 1 and 2 in sacks are gone, who do you
Yep.
think leads? So let's say right now it's 0-0. It's 0-0.
hmm
Nobody has any sacks. Who do you think ends the season with the most sacks from this point on?
Well, I'd be shocked. I'd be genuinely shocked if our defensive tackles, if Allen and Payne didn't step their game up, and Tuhill, who has shown promise,
Mm-hmm.
if he doesn't take an extra step, I'd be genuinely shocked.
Yep.
Now, I don't know who we're going to roll out at the second defensive end spot because, I mean, we weren't.
Committee. It's going to be committee. KJ
Yeah,
Henry, Effa
yeah, because
Rada.
we
It's just going to be
haven't.
one
We're
of the things.
not that. The crazy thing is, we weren't that deep at defensive end anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And
James
to
Smith-Williams
trade,
is out there.
yeah. So I mean, you're going to have to really become creative. And I would genuinely be shocked if our defensive tackles didn't. One of them, pick your poison. I could say Jonathan Allen, but
Gotcha.
I don't know.
So your guess is one of those 3. Now,
Yeah.
next question. Sam Howell, how many yards do you think he ends up with passing the ball? Right now, the last I checked, Sam Howell was number 5 in the NFL in passing yards. Where do you think he ends up? Yeah, it's crazy. And the funny thing is, Mahomes and Sam Howell have the exact same stats right now, other than Mahomes has 2 more touchdowns.
Damn.
Mahomes is 15 touchdowns, 8 picks. Sam Howell is at 13 touchdowns, 8 picks. Who do you like? Where do you think? Do you think that Sam Howell hits 4,500 yards passing this year, or do you think he hits 4,200? Do you think he's under 4,000? What do you think? Real quick.
Well, considering we're going to be in, I think, some shootouts, and if he can play like he played against Philly, then we might be in for something that's unseen.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he could end the season. I'd say 4,300. I'd go right in the middle.
Solid.
I'd go right between 42 and 45.
That's solid. Next question.
Because
next question.
Like
question.
I said, okay, I got it.
Go ahead.
You go ahead.
All right. So last question is, the running game has been pissing me off, and Brian Robinson over under 800 yards rushing. Yes, I had to lower the number. I thought it was going to be 1,000-yard back, but obviously EB doesn't like to run the ball. His ratio of running the ball is terrible. Even when he's having a great game running, averaging 5 point something yards per carry, he still refuses to run the ball. Does he get over 800 yards rushing this season? That's the question.
With the offensive line, I mean, I don't know. I mean, he could surprise us. He really could. I'd say I don't think we're going to be running the ball much, if I'm being honest. I think he might go under. I don't think we're going to be running the ball much because I think we're going to be in a lot of shootouts. Yep. And I think that's one reason why I think Sam's going to have between about 4,300 yards passing.
Yep, I agree.
I think he might. I would be genuinely surprised if he didn't. Actually, I take that back. I think he might end the season. I think he might throw 2 more picks. I think he might throw 2 more picks, and that's saying something considering who we have. He just he throws the ball so well. He knows when to get rid of the ball. I don't see him making those many mistakes like that.
I mean, to that point, I give you that. He has limited his mistakes. He's only had 9 starts in his career, and he continues to get better. He's very accurate. He can make. I mean, the touchdown to Jamison Crowder was ridiculous. Every touchdown he threw was ridiculous. But that's Sam Howell. Josh, man, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm about to go ahead and
Absolutely,
eat this
brother.
dinner. We gotta do this again.
Yes,
Let
for
people know
sure,
where they
brother.
can find you on social media.
Yeah, my Insta is, or my Twitter is Smithers8. My Insta is Josh Smiths 0526, and then Facebook just Josh Smithers. Yeah, it was
Good
good. It was
deal.
good
Good deal.
chatting,
Thank you
and
so much.
I hope to come on again, buddy.
And for those of you guys that were in the chat and viewing, man, appreciate you guys. Please share the podcast. For those of you guys that are listening, please rate, review, and I'm gonna catch you guys on the next episode. We lost Chase Young, we lost Montez Sweat. Let's see how the season ends. I'm gonna catch you guys on that next episode. I'm out.
Peace out.
Peace.